Welcome to the Sovereign Free Life podcast. I'm here with Ray Higdon, and it's a real pleasure to have you here. Really looking forward to this interview. And you are someone who's not just built success in business, but also has such a deep anchoring in your character, in your
Mm.
values, and also in service to others. And over the years, you've impacted thousands of people and entrepreneurs all over the world, and you've helped them to grow their confidence, their sales leaderships, their faith, and you help sales representatives to stop chasing and close more sales with confidence. And your podcast reaches over 10 million. You had 10 million downloads there. And in the last few years, you've helped sales representative generate over 300,000 new customers. And I also heard something that about you receiving one of the top sales prizes in the world recently. So
Yeah.
yeah, and what I appreciate with you, Ray, we met in San Diego this summer at the Enagic event, and actually something deep shifted in me just
Mm.
from that one meeting. And after that, I've been listening to so many of your podcasts, your trainings, everything you do. And I really appreciate that it's not just about making money. You're talking about who you become in the process. You're talking about identity, about mindset, set integrity, discipline. And I came to the sales training in San Diego thinking, oh, I'm going to write all these, sales skills down. I'm going to have lots of scripts and all of that. And I know you work with that. But then it was a deeper shift within me. And the following months, I actually made, I think just from that everything that happened. I made five-figure months like the coming
Mm.
months after that.
Nice.
So yeah, it was very nice. And I believe it was like a lot that you talk about posture and integrity,
Mm.
like and what you shift into inside of you and how that actually has a ripple effect. So yeah, would love to dive into like pick your brain and see where this conversation goes.
Sure. Let's do it.
And I know you've been in a lot of interviews, so I won't like ask you to run your whole story again, but I would love to hear what were your turning points? Like what kind of key moments in your life has defined who you are today? Like what have you brought
Yeah.
with you from those?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few key moments for sure. Um, the first that really pops up is at the time, I was working for a local government and I was a project manager. And, I was just low man on the totem pole, like, just working like crazy, trying to climb my way up. And my boss, who I really respected, she's still the best boss I ever had. She says to me, she goes, "Hey Ray, I want you to do a presentation, for the our section, on it was I think it was a Monday, and she said, I want you to do this, I want you to do a presentation on the project you're working on in front of our section." And there was like, five or six people in our section. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, just prepare something. And, if you have slides, that's fine. But I want you to present in front of, the rest of the group. And I'm like, okay. And so like that terrified me. I mean, I was mortified of speaking. I'd never spoken in front of any kind of group. And in fact, I was so self-conscious because I felt, I didn't know this exactly at the time, but in looking back, I just thought I was stupider than everyone else. I thought that I worked harder, but I was dumb. And so like I thought, this is terrifying. Like they're all going to know how dumb I am because they're so smart. I was in an IT department and I did not feel like I was as smart as anyone else in the group. And so I'm like, oh man, she's gonna have me present. And so, I leave work that day. I go to the library, I get the Idiot's Guide to Presenting, the Dummy's Guide to Public Speaking, and I'm reading these books, and I only have a couple days. I don't sleep that night. I don't sleep the next night. And then Wednesday morning, I I remember this was back when we had a landline, like an actual phone, not a cell phone. And so I remember just like I had my hand on the phone. I'm just going to call in and say I'm sick, and I knew that that boss would hold me to that task and wouldn't let me get away with that. I would just have to do it whenever I came in. And so I didn't want to go in, but I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go in. And so one of the one of the themes in the speaking books was if you screw up, no one knows. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm really banking on that. And so I start the presentation and I somehow develop a stutter. I spill water on down my shirt, but I get through it, right? I get through it like, oh, it's done. Oh, thank goodness, right? And afterwards, my boss pulls me into her office and she goes, Ray, shut the door. And I'm like, okay, I shut the door and she goes, are you on drugs? And I'm like, oh God, like it was that bad. And I'm like, no. And she goes, what was that? That was very weird. And I'm like,
Oh.
okay. And I don't know what to say because like now it's confirmed. I really am stupid. And
Mm.
so I sit like, after that, that day was over, I sat in my green Hyundai Sonata and I'm just like, I'm just gonna quit. I've been here 5 years. I'm just gonna quit. I'm just gonna drive off and I'm gonna erase this from my resume. It's that'll just be a hole in my resume and I'll figure it out. And something in me, and I really feel I didn't know this at the time, but I feel like God nudged me and and I really felt like it was important for me to get over that fear.
Mm.
And so instead of quitting, I drove to the local college and I walked in and I tell the barista or whatever, or what is it? What is it? Not barista, that's a coffee, but barrister or whatever you call them. And I said, hey, put me in any class where there's speaking. And she said, well, that's usually the last class people take, but okay. And so she put me in strategic thinking, speech, and it's not like it got better. And I also enrolled in Toastmasters.
Mm.
And so it's not like it got better overnight. I remember, so my first speech in speech class, it was just a train wreck, and I felt so stupid again. I felt so stupid. And so I figured, you know what, the second one, I'm gonna crush this one. I'm gonna memorize the whole thing. And so I just memorized it verbatim. And so I do this presentation. I think it was about Microsoft or something because I was in IT. And
Mm.
so, here's the crowd. I just look like this. I'm like, hello, I'm Ray Higdon. Da, 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 da. I don't look at anyone. I'm looking above the crowd, and I don't even look at the slides. I'm just clicking away. And so I finish, and now I'm the oldest guy in the class, first of all, because I'm like 25, 26 maybe, and everyone else is like mainly teenagers, right? And so I finish, and the teacher goes, "What was that?" And the whole
Not again.
class burst out laughing. The whole class. And so I'm like, "Ah, God, I'm such an idiot." And so I just I just was so determined to get better. I just kept doing it and doing it, painfully doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I got better. And about I think it was like 2 years later, I was speaking on the Vegas Strip at Planet Hollywood. And I had taken a speaking job where I was Vegas, Chicago, Phoenix, Miami, LA, 22 days a month on the road, selling a $7,000 real estate education system in a 90-minute pitch to a cold audience. And so
Oh.
I had gone from arguably one of the worst speakers of all time to
Mm.
a very tough speaking job, and I was in the top, 2% of that company.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so that was definitely a turning point of instead of embracing the fear, going and saying, I'm going to get better at that. And I
Mm,
would say I'll share
mm,
one more turning point because this was a really big one. So fast forward a couple years from that, and I had been doing really well in real estate. I've been flipping houses. I've been, selling contracts. I had 37 rental units, and me and a partner. And when the market changed in 2008, we got completely wiped out. And so I go through a divorce, I go through foreclosure, we lose all the different properties. I'm literally $1 million in debt, and that
mm,
isn't including my mortgage. And going to again personal foreclosure. And I'm just a mess, man. I am depressed. I am like, what the hell's wrong with me? And I tell people the only thing worse than not making money is having made a lot of money, then not make money,
mm,
right? If you're used to
mm,
ramen noodles and tuna fish, like, it's not a big deal. Just keep that trend going. But if you're used to like lobster and steak, and then now you're back to tuna fish, that
mm,
is a real reality awakening.
mm.
And so here I am. I'm depressed. I'm drinking heavily. I got all my credit cards maxed out. I'm waiting for when the sheriff is going to kick me out of the house. And someone messages me that I don't know on Facebook. And again, I think this is a God thing. So this lady messages me that I don't know, and she says, "Hey, I work for this company. I'd like to give you a free ticket to this 3-day event."
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know, what can it hurt, And so I go to this event. It's called the Landmark Forum. And so I go there and I'm thinking this is going to help me make money, man. And so I go there, and what I actually get from it is that I had my relationship with my dad on a to-do list with no priority. I hadn't talked to my dad in 13 years,
Oh,
and I had
wow.
every reason not to. He allowed a lot of bad things to happen to me, during my childhood,
Mm,
and had every reason not to forgive him and not to talk to him. But at the time, I had my sons were 9 and 10 years old. He had never met him.
oh, wow.
And so on day
Mm,
two of that event, I call him, and he's like, "Yeah, hey," and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry I haven't been a better son. I'd like to have a relationship with you. I'd like you to meet your grandsons." And
mm,
so July 4th, which is his birthday, 2009, I fly up to Indiana. He actually bought the tickets, thank goodness,
mm,
because I was broke. And so I take my sons up there, and we create a relationship. It's never become perfect, but it became something.
mm.
And I came back home, and the next week I'm at a home business opportunity, and I get introduced to a direct sales company that I later go on to become the number one income earner of. And I make millions of dollars with. My life completely changed when I forgave my dad. And
Oh,
so it's a combination. The two biggest turning points in my life, there's a third, but I'll just stop there. The two
mm,
biggest is overcoming fear and forgiveness.
wow.
And so those two things is what helped me make millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars and
Mm,
change my life.
mm. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And I guess that is really, the next question, how is that connected? Because you made these inner shifts, right? And how do you see why did that affect you making millions? Like how can that affect you to actually make a change in the outer world? How do you see that connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's interesting, although I absolutely did not know this at the time. It's actually biblical. Mark 11:24 says, "When ye pray, pray as if you've already received," which sounds very new age, like isn't that law of attraction kind of stuff? And
Yeah.
well, I mean, that's the verse. I'm just telling. And so, but it says, when you pray, pray as if you've already received. Okay. But then the next line is, and forgive anyone of anything so that you can be forgiven. And
Uh,
so forgiveness is actually associated with what you want in your life. And I didn't know that. And
mm,
so when I forgave my dad, I flew back and something was different. It's like I had let go of baggage. I had like cleaned out the clutter or something. And so I could see this opportunity differently than had it been presented a week prior.
Mm,
And so I saw this opportunity and I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. And I had I had like $300 left on one credit card and I, used that and maxed that one out and joined. And I remember telling my girlfriend at the time, I said, listen, the next 2 years are going to be hell and I'm going to be working my face off. We're not going to be doing dinners or movies or stuff for 2 years. I'm going to be very focused on this. I got to bounce back. And it's not like we were doing a lot of stuff anyway because I was broke and she was paying my utility bills. And so I
mm,
said, I think it's going to be 2 years. And the truth is, if it took longer than 2 years, I would have, just continued.
mm,
But that's the attitude I took. And I loved her so much. I didn't want to lose her, but I had to be straight with her. I had to be honest with her and I had to tell her what was coming because she was going to see a different version of me.
mm.
And she fortunately accepted that, and she's now been my wife for 15 years.
Aw.
And so what I didn't know is how quickly, when you have that kind of inner transformation and inner decision, how quickly things actually change. And so, my 5 months in, I'm at, the first month I went an incentive trip to St. Kitts. 5 months in, I'm at 10,000 a month. 7 months, 40,000 a month. 10 months, 50,000 a month. Go on, become the number one income earner, make millions with that company, make millions outside of that company. At the same time, I was the number one earner of that company. I made $1 million in an affiliate company. I mean, it was just crazy.
Mm,
And so it's I really believe that whatever is showing up in your life is actually the delay of what's been in your mind and heart.
mm,
And so whatever you're holding in your mind and heart is warping the reality around you. And and I do believe that God's responsible for results, but his nature is to grow you. And you don't get what you want, you get what you're ready for.
mm,
And so, there was a delay of my decision and then big results, but that works good or bad. If you're
mm.
carrying, negative stuff in your head, then you gonna get that too. It'll just be a little bit, delayed. So why carry that stuff? It's no good.
Yeah, yeah. So the act of forgiveness and like resolve within actually kind of opens the room, like opens
Yeah.
the space to actually be able to receive. Is that kind of
Yeah.
a good summary of that? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think, I like, I trained for a couple years under Joe Dispenza, and I remember there was this one training I saw of his where he had this picture of, he had like the human body, and it had all these lines connected to it. Okay.
Mm,
And he said, whatever you're consistently thinking about is pulling energy from you. And so anything you're consistently thinking about is literally taking energy from you. And so you want to start snipping those cords. You want to start snipping and breaking those chains. And so I really took that to heart. And I remember one day I'm sitting in my office and I think about this storage unit that we have. And this storage unit, my wife, every house we've ever owned, she sells in 2.5 years, right? This house is for sale right now. And
okay.
so every 2.5 years, she's never met a profit she doesn't like. She likes to sell, she likes to move, she likes the whole process, she likes, whatever. And so we've sold, I don't even know how many houses at this point, but every 2.5 years, we're out of there, no matter how much we like it. And so it's like, whatever. And so I'm just used to it. She's trained me.
Mm,
And so what happened with that storage unit is there was a time where I was out of town when the move occurred, and she put a whole bunch of stuff in the storage unit that I wasn't even there for, right? So I've always kind of wondered what's in that storage unit, like I wonder, we're paying for it every month, like what's in that storage unit? And so I thought about it, and it was 5 years ago, so 5 years. Right. And so I'm sitting at my desk and I catch myself thinking about the storage unit and I saw that diagram. I'm like, that's taking energy from me. I'm going to go take care of it. And so I go to her, I'm like, hey, where's the key to the storage unit? And she's like, the storage unit. I'm like, yeah, the storage unit. And she's like, you mean from 5 years ago? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, let me find it. And she goes, what, why? What's up? I'm like, I've been thinking about it. I got to take care of it. And she's like, okay. And she thinks I'm nuts. And so I go there. It's this humongous storage unit. We donate a tractor trailer worth of crap that we did not need. We greatly reduce it to a much smaller unit, and I find some cool stuff too. And so it no longer took up any energy for me. And so I would say like how you can apply this to your life is just anything. Like it could be forgiveness, it could be sending a message, it could be storage unit, right? It could be what keeps coming up in your mind because that is taking energy away from your creation and you creating. And so you need to snip that, take care of it, or release it, or something. And so I just very much paid attention, for and I still do. When something pops up, I'm like, okay, am I supposed to do something about that? And just don't let stuff keep popping up and you not do anything about it.
Mm.
And figure it out, get rid of that cord, and you will gain more energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's gold. That's amazing because it keeps you from this present moment, right? Like
That's
it
right.
keeps you
That's right.
from, like I've heard you speak before, like really listening to God, the creator in the moment
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
because that's something that I do, and I think a lot of people want to come there, and
Yeah.
these things keep pulling us in the other directions, right?
That's right.
But would love to go back to, you became this top income earner in a network marketing company. And what was the things you learned on that journey? And you said you learned from Joe Dispenza, from other coaches. Like how did that help you to create the success? Like what were the key points to that success, you believe?
Yeah. I mean, I learned that um, me being in action, doing the things that I should be doing, um, helped everything. Right. And so in the past, I had gone in kind of like spurts and things like that, but me just doing the work and no excuses, doing the work whether I felt like it or not, doing the work whether, you know, whether I got a result or not. So I became much more addicted to my activity than any result.
Mm,
And and there's but I also learned that I, over the years, so if you fast forward a few years, I mean, I generate over $30 million online. I, spoke on, pretty much all the major stages around the world. Grant Cardone, Russell Brunson, shared the stage with Tony Robbins multiple times.
oh wow.
And,
Mm,
and what I realized is I had built an identity, like I think most people, of I am what I do and what I have. And that is not a healthy identity. And
mm,
so the third kind of turning point was 3.5 years ago. And but before I go there, 2019, the company does like $6 million. Money's just flowing so easily, just from everywhere. And I realized I'm not happy.
mm,
And I'd accomplished all these goals that I thought would make me happy, but I'm
mm,
just not happy. And so I went on a very different journey, and then COVID happened and everything. And so I tried a lot of different things to try to figure out, okay, I have all the things I thought I wanted. Why am I not happy? I built my dream home, I had this beautiful family, had millions in the bank. And so I went on this different journey of trying to figure things out. And so I tried hypnosis, I tried meditation, I tried different types of therapy, and all of that stuff did help. I won't say none of it
mm,
didn't not help. It all helped, but it still wasn't the answer. And then in November of 2022 is when, and this is the third turning point, is when I discovered God and how much
mm, mm,
He loved me, and that's what changed a lot of things. And so about maybe a year and a half into that journey. And when I get into something, I think God gave me this trait. I go all in. Okay, I either don't want to have anything to do with something, or I want to be the number one guy on planet Earth about it. And so about a year and a half in, I was experiencing, I would love to say as soon as I found God, everything turned around and everything was amazing, but it wasn't. I mean, I just kept getting, I just started getting crushed. And so here I am a year and a half in, and my oldest son isn't talking to me. We've lost over $3 million dollars in investments. Um, just got a, two, like point 0.4 between two different hotels, $2.4 million dollars in expenses, different did a lawsuit, different people turned on me. I had a financial planner steal $60,000 from me.
Mm,
Um, and so like all these things, I'm just getting punched in the face.
mm.
And so I get into prayer and I'm just like, man, I feel like I'm being so obedient, God. Like, what's going on? Like, why? I feel like I'm being destroyed.
Yeah.
And what I got in prayer, and when I say that I hear in prayer, it's not that I hear some external voice. For me, it's my own internal voice, but it's words I wouldn't use. And
Mm,
so what I got was, and this is, I'll always remember this the rest of my life. I
mm.
had to keep breaking you so you would keep searching and find the need to love yourself.
Oh.
And I hear that very clearly. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like what do you mean by that? And so I'm like, what do I do? How do I do that? Like, and about 2 weeks later, I realized that I had this routine. It was an unwritten routine. It wasn't planned, but I did it every night. Every night I would run an audit on my day and I would find one thing to beat myself up about. Like either something I did do or something I didn't do. Like either I ate a cupcake and how dare I, or I blew a sales call. And
Mm,
I had done that my whole life. So
mm,
for decades, I had been a brutal bully to myself, never acknowledging, never celebrating, never happy and joyous over, the things that I'd done, but
mm,
always locating the thing I did wrong or the thing I
mm,
didn't do.
mm,
And so, God showed me that and broke me of that and gave me a new identity. And so
mm.
my identity has nothing to do with what I have or what I do anymore. I know who I am because of whose I am. And, when I taught my daughter, who's 10 years old, when I taught her how to hear in prayer, I said, okay, I want you to, pray. I want you to ask God this question. Ask, Lord, how do you see me?
Mm,
And so she prays and she writes these, she writes down these very powerful, amazing words. And I said, okay, I want you to remember something. If an apple tree dies before it produces an apple, what kind of tree is it? And she's like, well, it's an apple tree. I'm like, exactly. And so there may be days you don't act like this, but that's not who you are. This
mm,
is who you are.
mm,
And and hers was brave, bold, daring, leader, like that. Those are the words that she got in prayer.
mm.
And funny part about that story is she walks away, and I hear her go, ugh. And I'm like, what's up? What's wrong? And she goes, well, I didn't like that answer. And I'm like, what'd you ask? And she goes, I asked God when I'm getting my boobs, and he said 14. And I just cracked up because one, she was that comfortable to ask that kind of question. And two, that was not her answer. She would not, if she's just making up answers in her head, she would not have come up with 4 years from now, right? Or at the time it was 5 years. And so it's just been, an amazing journey.
Wow. And how did you come to like hear God within? Because I think a lot of people doubt that. They think that, oh,
Sure,
just my imagination, I can't
sure.
hear it. But it's something when you talk about it, like when I learned that and I followed that path,
Yeah,
like strictly, magic started to happen around me. Like
that's right.
I don't even know how it came into these
Yeah,
places that I've come into, So, and that's kind of crucial. Like
yeah,
how do you hear that within?
yeah. Yeah, and it's, I heard a guy, his name's David Green, and David Green was, when he was a kid, he dreamed of being a dime store manager because that would have made him the most successful guy in his family. But instead, he launches Hobby Lobby, which has 44,000 employees, 1,055 stores, and they do 8 billion a year.
Oh, wow.
And I had the chance to meet him at his headquarters in Oklahoma, and super humble, super amazing guy. He has funded over 1 billion children hearing the gospel. Like just amazing. They take 50% of profits every year and donate it to charity.
Oh,
And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
mm,
And so I heard him in an interview say that my life changed when I turned every major and minor decision over to prayer. And I'm
mm,
like, well, if he can do it, I think I can too. And so I started just pursuing that. I started pursuing, I want to hear from God because if I believe the Bible says, James 1:5, when ye lack wisdom, ask, and it'll be given to you liberally and without reproach. And I'm like, well, that's true. Then I want that. And so I started praying on everything that I do, every major and minor decision, and I started being guided. And for me, yeah, and you're right. Most people aren't confident they can hear in prayer. Is it me? Is it God? Is it indigestion? Bad pizza? What is it, right? And I have also learned that people hear differently. So
mm,
for me, it's my own internal voice, but it's words I wouldn't use.
mm,
Now, if you're that type of person, you need to ask questions that you would have a hard time answering. So
mm,
questions like, God, how do you see me? See, if
mm,
we answered that, we would have some kind of condemnation. We'd have like, well, I screwed up in high school and, I shouldn't have married that one lady, or guy or whatever. Like we would have some kind of, here's what we need to fix.
mm,
That's not how God will answer you. He's going to give you words that will like blow you away. The
mm.
first three times I prayed that, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't take the
Oh, wow.
goodness
Mm,
of the answer.
mm,
And there's another question that I like to teach people, and that is, Lord, um, um, what is it that you how do I word it? Hold on. It's a really great wording. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
mm.
God, what did you intend for me to be when you made me?
Oh, wow. Ooh.
That's a big question. So I remember exactly where I was when I asked that question. I was in Boise, Idaho. I was at a hotel and I just listened to this, podcast by a guy named Jamie Winship, who's amazing. And I'm like, hmm. And I heard that question and I said, and I asked it, and I'm in the hotel just bawling my eyes out because
Wow.
I think a lot of people they think that if they surrender to God, it's going to negate their goals.
Mm.
Like, I don't want to surrender to God because like I got big goals, man. Well, his ways are higher than our ways. So when I asked that question, it was bigger than any goal I'd ever even considered.
Mm,
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's what you made me for? Like, oh my God. And so it just shook me. I mean, it was just incredible. And so now some people I've learned, because I don't have this, some people hear from God in images or visions or dreams. Like my wife, he'll give her dreams and visions and stuff. And
mm,
so a lot of times she's coming to me and she's gotten in prayer something we're going to do. The way he works with me is he tells me what to do. Like what am I doing today? He may not answer anything about tomorrow, but he'll answer today. With her,
mm,
he'll tell her stuff that we're to do months or years from now. And so I'm just to take note of it and kind of, categorize it and stuff. Um, and
mm,
so it's not, I don't hear Charlton Heston or James Earl Jones. I hear my own inner voice, but it's
mm,
just words I wouldn't use. I would not
mm,
use those
mm,
words.
mm,
And so you kind of got to trick yourself. But I think overall, the number one thing that I encourage people with is believe in his ability more than your disability. If
mm,
you're so addicted to your disability, I can't hear, I'll never talk to me, and I don't hear anything, then,
mm.
okay, pray as if you've already received, right? Then that's what you get. If you
Exactly.
don't believe, then you may not hear, but just
Yeah.
believe in his ability. He can talk to you.
Mm,
And it's amazing when he does.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I believe I really want to ask you this because that's actually what happened to me in San Diego as well. You talked about self-sabotage and how that's kind of one of the keys you need to look at to really succeed, you know? And I think there's so many people, when you talk about the big visions, at least that's actually what I started to do after San Diego. I wrote down, I came kind of in tune with, well, I know what to do already. It's already
Yeah.
in there. I know
Yeah.
exactly what to do. Like, why am I not doing it?
Yeah.
Something is blocking me from taking the steps, from doing the actions. Like
Yeah.
what I've created since then is like huge momentum in my team, like beautiful
Nice.
things happening. And it was like looking at the blocks, looking at why am I
Mm.
not doing the things I know I'm here to do, the big things. Because I think when you look at your big vision, sometimes that's when the fears come up, right? Like that's
Yeah.
when the negative self-talk and like, why did I do that? No, you're good and not good enough. You can
Right.
never achieve that. And I would love to hear from you because you work with so many top income earners, entrepreneurs from all over the world. What are the most common blocks that come up and how do you handle them? Like, how can you tackle that?
Yeah. For years, I would, and I just feel like God guided me on this even before I knew Him. For years, I would talk with someone, find out their pattern, and just kind of intuitively figure out what the problem was.
Mm,
So, I remember, one lady I coached, we get on the phone and she's been stuck at $500 a month for 4 years in her business, right? Like just not good. And so I asked her a question, I forget what it was, and she said, I just don't want to disappoint anyone. And
mm,
so I know that almost every, and that's just being nice, almost every pattern is from childhood
mm,
and some observation you made as a kid. And so I said, okay, well, who disappointed you as a kid? And she said, well, not maybe not disappointment, but shame. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And she goes, well, my mom was a prostitute.
mm.
I'm like, okay. And I said, do a lot of people know that? And she goes, oh yeah, they all know. All the people in my town, everyone knows. And then she said, and she's still alive. What an interesting thing to say. And so I said, I know what your problem is. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't look at her scripts. I didn't look at her branding. I didn't look at her Instagram. I didn't look at her reels, her marketing, her target market, her tagline. I didn't look at any of that stuff. I said, I know what your problem is. And she goes, what's my problem? And I said, well, uh, you think that if you reach your potential, that the people around you to pull you down to size will bring up the past of your mom, which would bring shame to her, and you would do anything to prevent that. And she's like, oh my God, I never thought about that. I'm like, and there's another way to look at it, and that is that your mom went through a lot of stuff that she didn't want to do for you to have a better life. And it's kind of a smack in the face that that's the reason you're not.
Mm.
And so that one, I thought maybe I went too fast, too far. Like I was worried about that one. I'm like, she might hate me the rest of my life. And so um, I knew it was accurate. And by the way, I didn't say, oh, by the way, you're waiting for her to die.
Oh my
Which was
God.
true. Why would she say that? I didn't say that part. I didn't say that part, right? And so, but I said all that, and then the next day I'm like, yeah, maybe she wasn't ready for that. Because sometimes I see someone's problem, but they're just not ready to hear it. And
Mm,
so I text
mm,
her and I said, hey, how you doing? And she goes, I had a talk with my mom last night and it's on. In 90 days, she was at 90,000
oh my God.
in volume. She became a multiple six-figure earner. She became a best-selling author. She is a complete rock star now. And so like 4 years,
Mm,
500 bucks a month. And so I did that kind of stuff for years. I have 100 of those stories of,
mm,
Amy
mm,
Murphy, who was 17 years, had never made a profit to I coach her, train her. She made $5 million dollars in her company. Right. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff.
mm,
Nowadays, when I get with someone, I pray about them, and so when I was not necessarily in San Diego, but several other Enagic events, um, after the event, I just sat there and like, sat with people and there's a big long line and I would just pray and say,
Mm,
and I would just ask, God, I'm like, God, how can I best help them? And he would reveal things to me, such as strongholds, lies that they're believing, agreements,
mm,
spirits of offense, spiritual warfare, all kinds of different things. And
mm.
so I would, without any context at all, I would say, you believe that it won't last. And they'd be like, how do you know that? Like, I don't know them. I don't know anything about them. They're like, what do you mean? Or you believe that making money is hard. And they'd be like,
Mm,
how do you know that? And so we would pray these things off and people would have breakthroughs. And so there was one lady that I prayed and she believed two lies. She believed that making money was hard and keeping money was hard, right? And so if you think those two things, like you're gonna sabotage. And
mm.
so we prayed those two things off. The next month, now she had not made more than $1,000 a month in 26 years.
Oh my God.
The next month, she hits diamond in her company, hits five figures
Oh,
the
wow.
next month.
Oh, that is
And
beautiful.
so it's, step one is awareness. And because these programs and beliefs and strongholds and all that stuff, it's entrenched not to harm you, but to keep you safe. It keeps
Mm,
you safe from observations you've made. And so when something is there to keep you safe, it doesn't want to be discovered because if it gets discovered, you'll be unsafe.
mm,
And that means something bad could happen again. And so it's I think it's very difficult to do this on one's own.
mm,
You kind of need someone, I'm not saying, I mean, there's other people that do this kind of thing, but you
mm,
almost need someone to kind of look, and see what are your blind spots? What are you,
mm,
what's going to be difficult for you to identify? Because awareness is step one. Let me be aware of my patterns and aware of my thoughts and beliefs.
mm.
And because if we don't become aware of that stuff, then just learning how to do something is rarely going to change. Is really going to change anything. You just won't do it. Or you'll do it in a way that sabotages.
Isn't awareness in a way to kind of let God's light in? Like, isn't
Yeah.
actually what
Flip,
happens?
turn the light in the darkness.
And
We
then the
don't
darkness is
fight the
gone.
darkness. We flip the light on.
Exactly. It's like the
Yeah.
simple, just okay, first turn the light bulb on, then you can start to clean up. Like then
That's right.
you see the room from full of crap. It's like, no, I don't need this
Yes,
in a way.
exactly. Well said. Well said.
I would love to know because I know something you said when we met was that you also have like strict routines, every like morning routines, routines and discipline in your life. Would love to know like how much impact that does that do? Like one thing is to do the inner work, like the mindset, shifting these things,
Yeah.
having someone look at you. But then you also talk about doing the do's, having the routines. And that's, something that I know a lot of top income earners also do, something that I do. Like, what's a part of that in your life? Like, what does your routine look like? Why is it so important with those routines?
Yeah. Man, I mean, one, I realized that God kind of wired me to love discipline. Like I love consistency. I love routines. Like, I was not natural at speaking, clearly. I shared that story. I was not natural at sales. I was not natural in video. So many things that I think some would consider me world class at now. I wasn't natural at. I had to learn, and I really sucked for a long time in all those categories. And so that, the discipline is there to build and improve your skills and progress, right? And so I just have there's so many things that I do. Like, when and Monday's special too, because I do one thing on Monday that's different than every other day. I actually just put it away, but every Monday, and I was led to this by prayer, but every Monday I do a business journal where I write down different projects, investments, my body, different companies I'm working with, my own company, social media, YouTube, finances. I have, I don't know, maybe 15 different things. And I don't ask what I should do. I ask God, what's he doing? What are
Mm,
you doing? And so there's been so many things over the last year since I've been doing this. I've been doing about a year. There's so many things that I would pray about. What are you doing, Lord? Nothing. Should I be doing it? No. Okay. And so there's probably been 6 or 7 different projects that I was like involved in or whatever that I just get in prayer. It's time for me to walk away. And I do. And my
mm,
life became freer and freer and freer and freer and better and better and better and better and more profitable, more profitable, more profitable to all the goodness. And so, I ask, so what this does is it gives me my expectations based on what he's doing. So I knew the moments of time where he was refining the company so it wasn't going to grow during those periods. I
mm,
knew also the times where he was exploding the company or where he was redeeming the company or where, and so it just gives me like this, okay, I'm prepared now. This is what's going on. All right, great. How do I work with you on this? How do I co-labor with you? And so that's part of the specific Monday routine. But every day, first thing I do in the morning is I pray, and one of the questions that I ask is, and this is a little different, is God, what are you praying for? Because Jesus taught when about prayer, he said, your will on earth as it is in heaven. Well, if that's the case, then don't we want to know his will?
mm,
So if I know his will, then I just pray for his will to be done. And if I know that his ways are higher than my ways, then that's a safe bet. And so I will pray, okay, you're praying that. Okay, what's my role? What am I to do today? And so I'll get instructions and I will follow those instructions, every single day.
mm,
I'll do a prayer walk at least once a day, but usually twice. And in this prayer walk, I just ask questions, Lord, anything to tell me, and any instructions, anything like that. And then I will do like a form of mental rehearsal where I'm taking the promises he's given me and I'm having an imaginary future conversation with someone that all of those things have been accomplished.
oh, wow.
And so I
Oh,
don't, it's not
mm,
willy-nilly or I think this is the right approach. It's like, okay, Lord, what are your promises? And I
mm,
just promise, I tell in my own mind, I have certain people, there's 2 different people that I do this with in my mind. And I just tell them, man, I'm not going to believe it, but I have this and this and this and this and this and this. I tell them all the things that's been accomplished
mm,
because that to me is when ye pray, pray as if you've already received. So I'm
mm,
talking to someone in my mind as if I've already received. And I find that that's the easiest way for mental rehearsal and visualization is
mm,
just conversation. I think some people struggle with seeing themselves walk up on a stage or seeing the big yacht or something like that. But a conversation,
mm.
I think, is much easier. And
And do you
so
like you record it or do you write it down or you just speak it out or just imagine like have
I'm just in my head. I
in
mean,
your
it's just
head?
etched. I mean, it's just word tracks, and and so it's pretty much the same conversation every day. But I just, I have the feeling as if it's already been accomplished, and
Mm,
so I'm thinking, feeling congruently, feeling good about it. I'm just creating the future memories,
mm,
and your brain doesn't know the difference between you thinking about a memory, what's happening right now, or you creating a future memory.
yeah.
Brain does not know the difference. And so I'm
Mm,
just creating future memories that are what I actually want and what God is promising. And
mm.
so it's just a wonderful, I look forward to it every single day. It's not a burden. I love doing it.
Can I ask, and if it's too personal, you don't have to answer, but what is it right now for you? Like, what is that? What does that vision, that future you look like right now?
So yeah, there's some parts I won't share, but um, what can I share of this?
Oh,
So like when I first get into the prayer walk, I always ask, Lord, is there something you want to tell me?
mm,
And when I started doing that, I don't even know how long ago, 6 months ago, maybe longer. There were four things that he would tell me, and it was just very clear, just crystal clear. You're selling, your books are selling very well. You're speaking on massive stages. Um, One I'll leave out, and what was the fourth? Um, this was kind of a newer one. It was three for a long time, and then it was a fourth, and the fourth one was, I'm exploding your business life and career. So when I'm having this future conversation, I'm saying, yeah, it's unbelievable. Our books are selling through the roof. I'm speaking on all these massive stages. I mean, it's like everything is exploding. It's incredible. And then recently, he switched all that to one thing, and that is you're dominating in your territories. And so I had to pray. And I'm like, what's my territories? Sales, affiliate marketing, network marketing, and high ticket.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I'm just repeating that in my imagination, in my conversations. And there's a few other things in deeper prayer he's given me, but you want to find out,
mm,
find out. And I learned this from a guy named Graham Cook. Graham Cook, he says most believers, they just pray and spray, right? They're just like, heal this person and do this and do that and give me abundance,
mm,
and they say all that kind of stuff. He's like, just find out the will of the Father. Find out the will, pray that it be done. It'll be done. No question. Guaranteed. 100% success.
yeah.
And so what you don't know is the timeline. And
Mm,
so he'll tell you his promises for you, but he's going to grow you into being the person ready to receive those.
mm,
And so, it's not like they just, come like that, but he's building you into and growing you into the person that can receive those promises
mm,
and trust that process.
Wow. Yeah. It's like building the container, right? Like to be able to
Yes.
hold that,
Yeah.
to be able to expand. And that's something, I really love that. Like really holding, asking God, because I believe also when it's in alignment, that's when it happens. I've also had
Yeah.
these kind of miracles, if you would say, like using the mind, like happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
Like recently, I haven't spoken much about it, but actually from one day to another, I had a knee injury heal.
Nice.
I mean, completely, like from walking with crutches, not even have like
Wow.
taking one step at a time up the stairs to, like you said, asking for it. You need to ask for it, right?
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of
that's
the
right.
thing.
That's right.
And then the next day, gone completely.
That's
I
awesome.
was I was like running to the car. I was in a hurry to get my kids from school, and I was looking down and it's like, I'm running, but I can't run, but I am. Like,
That's
how did,
awesome.
how did that happen? It's been that way since then. And that was all just asking for it,
Yeah.
really. And then it was in alignment. And I believe it was God's way of telling me how much He's with me, like how much He is,
Yeah.
by my side with me, like how powerful
That's
God.
right.
And like you say, but that you pray for people and that the powerful effect of actually asking for it.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to talk more about that because I know, and talk about your books since you want to spread that
Sure.
message as well, because I know you have um what is the title of it? Faith-driven wealth, or like what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I have a few. I have Time, Money, Freedom that was published by Hay House. We have the latest faith-based series are the Faith-Driven Network Marketer
Uh,
and
mm,
Faith-Driven
yeah.
Wealth. So you're right. This one, John Maxwell wrote the forward to. This one, Grant Cardone wrote the forward to.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Amazing.
and we have a leadership book, we have a social media book, we have a few other things, but those three are congruent with what we're talking about.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I'll tell you. Funny you say heel, or I'm sorry, knee. Um, we had a really so I when people ask me to pray for them, I always pray, all right, Lord, what should I be praying for them?
mm,
And so we had an event we ran 2 years in a row called Faith Over Fear. And so we did this process where um, we had people on day one fill out a questionnaire if they wanted to be coached live at the event. And so, day two, we had over 1,000 people there. And, day two, they bring me this big, stack of papers. And I'm like, all right, God, just tell me who you want to coach. So I close my eyes and I just start flipping papers. No, 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 no. Yes. And so I get a yes. Okay. I flip through the rest of the papers, all no's. So only one yes. I'm like, well, we got a long segment here. I'm gonna have to pick some more people. But I got one yes, and her name was Bryn Lynn or something like that. It was Bryn.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know her. And I'm like, okay, so I give it to my team. And on break that day, I go out we're on break, so I don't think anyone's in the room. And so I go out to look at the setup, and because we're about to have a panel, and so there's like 5 chairs and my chair, and I'm kind of looking at it, and I hear a hey, and I turn around and there's 3 ladies sitting in like the second row, and one lady has her leg propped up on a chair and her knees all bandaged up. And she goes, "Hey, will you pray for me?" And I'm like, "Sure, sure." And so I go down, I get off stage and I come down to her chair and I prayed. I'm like, "All right, God, what do you want me to do?" Heal her knee. I'm like, like I've never done this kind of thing. Like, okay. And so I get down and I'm praying for her knee, praying for her knee. And I'm like, okay, okay, give it a shot. And so she stands up and she squats a little bit. She squats a little bit more. She rips the bandage off, does a full-blown squat, starts crying,
Oh my gosh.
and that was Bryn.
That was Brian.
That
Oh
was
my
Bryn.
God.
I
I'm
didn't even know it. I
getting
didn't even
shivers.
know.
Getting
Like I
shivers.
happened to see her name tag. I'm like, oh my God, you're the person we picked. And she had told my team that she actually can't do the coaching because she couldn't climb the steps. She stormed up those steps. And so it was just so God, it was just so cool. And
Mm.
since then, I remember I was in Orange County, California, and I had this waiter, and I got the same nudge, pray to heal him. And his name was Ray, actually. And so I'm like, Ray, is there anything I can pray for you about? And he goes, man, my knees are killing me, and I had to do carpet all weekend, and so I prayed, and he was like, oh my God, they're amazing. This is amazing, Ray, and gave me a discount and everything. It was great. Um, but yeah, I just staying in step with the Spirit and just ask, letting Him lead you is so
Mhm.
adventurous. I talk a lot about that in my books, in the two faith books. Um, and yeah, it's been awesome.
That's amazing. Would love for you to tell a bit more about that. What was the title again?
Faith
Faith-driven.
over fear,
Yeah, and Faith Over
or
Fear. No,
or the
that
book. What?
yeah, the book,
Yeah,
faith-driven
the
wealth. Sorry.
yeah faith. So
Yeah.
faith-driven wealth is it's really great. I've learned. I wrote it for a particular type of person, but I've
Mm,
actually learned that it's good for two types of people. One, I wrote it for the person who loves God but is broke and struggles with money.
mm,
This will really help, and I've had a lot of people tell me that it helped them. But what also happened is I had someone who's actually a multi-million dollar earner inside of a Enagic read it, and she said this really helped me with my fear of losing it.
mm,
And
mm,
so if you have some people when they get to a certain level, they then are afraid of it going away or they losing it. And so it just helps ground you in, you know, how should you be thinking about money? Because
mm,
money's not evil. Having money isn't evil, but money having you is twisted. And so you don't want most people have money as their source. It's their source of happiness, or at least they think it is. Significance, status, safety, security.
mm,
Money's not meant to meet any of those things. And so know the difference between source and resource. Money is a resource and it's awesome. All right. When you have that resource, you can use it to do amazing things. It's a terrible source. because it can fly away, and then your source is
Mm,
gone, and then you question yourself just like I did.
mm,
And so, we want God, if you want a happy life, it's, God as source and money as a resource. And it talks a lot about that, uses a lot of, biblical, wisdom in there.
mm,
And yeah, we've gotten some great feedback for sure.
mm. Yeah, amazing. Because I think a lot of people that want to be spiritual or like they don't want to be egoistic or it's no money is like a bad thing. And
Yeah.
there's so many like bad conceptions about
Yeah.
money, right? And then
Yes.
when you keep thinking of that way, you don't receive.
Sabotage. One of the chapters that I did not want to write, but I felt very strongly he wanted me to write it, is
Mm.
21 Reasons You're Broke. And it goes through like, just very specific. And that is the chapter I didn't want to write is the one I most hear about. I have more people tell me
Wow.
about that chapter and how it helped them than any of the other chapters.
Mm.
And so you just got to trust.
Mm. Mm. Definitely, definitely. And yeah, let me see here. I just had some notes here. I think we've probably gone through most of the things here. So, like, just really, really short. I know there's so much you can talk to, there's so much you can say, but if someone is starting from zero, they're just entering this, the network marketing space. I coach a lot of people. We have a big, one of Scandinavia's biggest teams. And what would you say to them? Where do you start? Like if you start from zero, you start from nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just got to realize you're a problem solver. That's what you are. And so you're not a solution pitcher, you're a problem solver. And so people that are solution pitchers they usually struggle, because they're just talking about their thing. You should talk about the problems that you help with. What problems do you solve? What pain do you help with?
Mm,
Is it low energy? Is it health? Is it vitality? Is it opportunity? Like, talk about what problems you solve more than what solutions you offer. And so, it's learning what to say. So a lot of my time is spent helping sales reps stop chasing and start closing with confidence by knowing what to say. And so I do a lot of training on scripts. I have we have a script book that, we sell every single day. People all over the world have gotten that. A lot of people in Enagic have gotten that. And I've trained a ton of people in Enagic. Colton and Priscilla, I trained for 2 years. He's got a team of 160,000. Did some work with the Dream Team in Calgary. Samara, who was 13 years as a waitress, just had her first $1 million year. Christy in Australia, of course. Lacey, Marina. I mean, just so many $1 million earners in Enagic and their teams. And so, knowing what to say is very important. Knowing that you're a solution provider, but you get there by talking about other people's problems.
mm,
And so you got to help people see that their problems are solvable with your solution. And that's just so critical. And so you
mm,
don't have to, spend forever to know everything about the solution. Spend more time asking people about their problems that you can help with, and you will close sales.
And I think I watched one of your trainings recently where you said something like, if you don't ask enough questions to really learn about the problems, I think a lot of people they might have scripts to go, in the beginning to like,
Yeah.
okay, I have my call script. I'm going to go through it. Like I'm going to
Yeah.
stick
Yeah.
through that. And then they might not ask that follow-up question. They might not
Right.
go in depth. Like what would you say to, like you sit there with your script like and and it's so hard to train
You, you,
people in it
you,
also, right? Because I know I'm good at it because I've come very far, but it's such a like you say, it's such an intuitive act, the act of
Yeah,
sales.
I mean, you got to listen, and you got to, if you're listen, the scripts kind of keep you on track and keep you from being just, completely lost and confused. But, it's not let me get these scripts out. it's let me say the script and listen.
Mm.
I'm listening for their pain. I'm listening for their problem. Well, why is that important to you? Well, is that optional? Well, if you don't do this, how will you fix it? And so you're asking, you're listening, right? You use the scripts to kind of initiate more probable responses that let you get to the problem.
Mm.
Um, but a lot of people, they lose that. I've seen. So a lot of times teams will bring me in to review their conversations. And, I remember in Orlando not too long ago, I mean, they gave me 3 hours to on stage review people's conversations. And I'm like, all right, don't say this, say this. See, you missed that, see what you missed there. Um, but in reviewing people's conversations, I've found multiple times, twice actually, where a prospect responds and it's like, something very tragic. My house burned down. I just came back from my mom's funeral. Two times I've seen someone say, I came back from my mom's funeral, and the rep says, okay, just let me know when you can watch the video.
Oh,
That's
no.
terrible. Like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Geez, these are humans, man. Like, it's horrible. But I've seen that kind of stuff. Oh, sorry I haven't gotten back to you, but my house burned down over the weekend. All right, well,
Oh,
let me know when you can.
I know.
Like, what are you crazy? Like, what the heck's wrong with you, man? And
Oh,
and
no.
so, don't don't. The point of scripts is to,
Don't do
guide
that, at
you,
least.
but scripts doesn't
Mm.
make them not human. Like they're still human. Like you need to
Mm.
care to listen. And so I think a lot of people miss all these, cues and clues on how to close the sale because they just don't listen. They're just trying, it's almost like they're trying to prove that it's not going to work. And, you'll always verify what you believe to be true. So if
Mm.
you think it's not going to work, you're going to get that evidence in spades.
Yeah, that's what I've seen also, like, coaching a lot of people in my team that if someone has a belief like, no, this is too expensive, oh,
Yeah.
this is like network marketing is a scam, or like, da, da, da,
Yeah.
they will get that like over and over
Over and
and
over.
over, right?
Yeah.
You experience that too? Like, if you don't
Absolutely,
deal
absolutely.
with
Well,
that.
I just think God will give it to you over and over so that you build the resiliency and skill for the territory he's calling you to. And so he's so kind that he doesn't want you weak. He
Mm,
wants you strong for the promised land. He wants you strong for your promises. And to do that, you can't walk in fear.
mm,
And so if there's a objection you're afraid of, you're going to get that. Like I had people that they're like, I get this with every person I ever talk to. And I've talked to 10,000 people plus, I've never gotten it once. How's
no,
that possible?
yeah.
And it's because I'm not afraid of it. And so when you're afraid, whatever you're afraid of, until you get better at it, you're going to get it over and over and over.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, that is so true. Like I've really seen that, especially in sales and also the people that come through. Because right now, like I'm running ads and like you have no control in a way, like who comes into the ads.
Sure.
But the funny thing is, the more I do the inner work, the more people come on that are just like, yeah, when do I get started? I don't even need to answer any
Right.
questions. They're like, yeah, what do I do? Like
Yeah. Yep.
like that.
Amen.
And then I
That's
go
awesome.
through a period of doubt and this and that, and then it will
It's
reflect.
tough. That's
Yeah,
right.
it really does.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, I think yeah, we've gone over the hour. You've given so much gold, so
Hey.
value here. And guys, like, check out Ray's work, like, read
Yeah.
his books, jump onto I know you have lives very often, right?
I
Also,
do.
where can they
I do.
find you if they want to know more?
So Instagram at Ray Higdon, or we upload a ton of value to our YouTube channel, and that's higdongroup.com/channel.
Mm.
We just put tons of stuff on there. But yeah, you'll find me, and I put a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, there's lots of value just on those channels. I'm
Yeah.
on there all the time, I can tell you. And any last words, anything, that comes from intuition, that wants to be said, any last words to close with?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like the whole concept of faith is easy if you understand God's nature. And life is very hard if you don't. So I know God's nature is that he loves me and he wants to grow me. So anytime I see a circumstance or an obstacle, it's not a circumstance or obstacle, it's somehow for my good.
Mm.
And so I just don't stare at circumstances any longer. I look to him. And so like, no matter how bad it looks over here, I know that that either prevented something worse or it's helping me adjust to something better because that's his nature is to grow me and to love me. And so it's, when you understand that he wants to grow you and love you, then you can overcome any circumstance. Now, that's not natural. It's very natural for us to look at the circumstance, the health issue, the breakup, the termination, the rejection, the ridicule. It's very easy to look at that. I'm very grateful the last several years he's revealed several people to me that I really trusted and thought had my back and loved me and all that. And that completely wasn't the case. I'm actually grateful that he revealed that. And so, it's not that I'm mad at him or anything like that. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like he will do that. And so if you don't understand that, then you'll be really sad over the loss. You'll be like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. Like, what? And so, it's just not to turn our trust to other people or validation from other people. It's to get it from him. And life's easier when you do.
That's beautiful to deeply trust God's
Yeah.
work in a way. And it's hard sometimes. Like, what if God asks you to do something that feels like, oh, why should I do that? Like how, like you don't understand at all. Like,
Yeah. That's chapter one of Faith-Driven Network Marketer. It's called Obedience. And I
okay.
share many things he asked me to do that made me really uncomfortable, but I'm glad I did them.
Yeah, yeah, you understand afterwards, like why
Yes, exactly.
why
Exactly.
God has
Never
asked
before,
you.
but after. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, Ray. Thank you
Yeah.
so, so much. I really look forward to you seeing you in that future
Hey,
version.
that's right. That's right. I appreciate
Right.
you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much,
All
Ray.
right.
Have a beautiful day over there.
All
Thank
right. You too.